Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a history of the Fairchild Channel F. This is the first entry in my ongoing series of videos about consoles of the second generation. We will be looking at every single one of them in order of release, with the exception of the Atari 2600 because I don't have 3 years to spend looking at one system. But every other second generation console you will be seeing here, whether they were released in the US or not, whether the games are in English or German or French or Japanese or Korean, every single one of them. And the first console of the second generation, and the first game console to feature interchangeable cartridges ever, is Fairchild's Channel F. Let's take a look at it. So this is the Channel F right here. It is, as I said, the first cartridge-based game console. You can see insert cartridge right here. The cartridges are yellow. They're called video carts and they are numbered. We will be seeing the art of them momentarily, but I wanted to first look at the system itself. These are not easy to find. I do not own one, so pictures are all we have, but let me explain how each of these things work. Let me zoom in on first the actual system itself here. So obviously you have cartridge slot with a door over the slot to keep out dust. This is notable because many second generation consoles, and in fact some third generation consoles, did not have this. And you press the button and it ejects the cartridge from the cartridge holder here. So a little more complex again than you'd see in some other systems, but it keeps the cartridge secure. It keeps the cartridge holder from becoming filled with dust. So a very nice design here. On the left-hand side, you see a series of buttons. The reset button, I think, is fairly obvious to anyone who has used an older game system. It just resets the system back to its on state and resets everything. These four buttons, with all of their different forms here, are a bit more confusing. So this will make a bit more sense when we start a game, but for now, understand that what's here on the bottom are games 1 through 4, right? So if you need to select a game mode, you would be pressing 1, 2, 3, or 4 to do that. If there's no cartridge inserted when you turn on the system, it has Pong built in, and it has two variations, a hockey and tennis variation. We will look at those as our very first thing when we actually start looking at games. So if no cartridge is in here, you turn the system on, you can then press 1 or 2 and play Pong. If there are 4 different game modes, then you can press 1 through 4. If there's only one, then 2 through 4 don't work, and so on and so forth. In many games, you'll be asked to set the time limit, primarily on a competitive game like Pong. You'll be asked how long you want to play for, and so at that point you select 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that sets it to the amount of time listed right above here. The hold button here is somewhat unique in that it pauses the game so that you can adjust either the time or the mode after you have started the game without needing to reset it fully. I don't know really why you would want to do that, but yeah. But it also, mind you, can just be used to pause the game if you have to go to the bathroom or something. So the Atari didn't have something like this. So it's actually a very noteworthy thing as being the earliest game console to have a pause functionality. But mid-game, if you wanted to change the timer mode, you would hit 3 to enter hold, and then you would hit 1 to switch the time, or 2 to switch the mode, and then you would select which mode or time you wanted. Mode would switch between like 1 and 2 player mode, or if there were different rule sets, or in the case of multi-carts would switch between games. And so yeah, mode is going to give you more or less just variations. And then obviously start starts the game. So once you have selected the correct time, the correct mode, and the correct game, you would press 4 to start the game. Okay, that's the system itself. It's not the best interface, and the Atari 2600 obviously had a significantly better way of doing this with a bunch of toggle knobs on the top that you just flip. The knobs is the wrong term, like a lever, essentially. Levers on the top of the system that you would just flip back and forth to select different options there. And then of course you can see Fairchild VES, the Video Entertainment System, is the launch name of the Channel F. It was changed because when Atari launched the 2600, they launched it as the Video Computer System, so the VCS, and so to avoid confusion between their product and Atari's, they renamed it to the Channel F. That's the Channel Fun, is what that's meant to stand for. Okay. And now we have to look at these things here. These are the controllers, and as you can tell, they're like no controller that has existed before, since they're more like the game Bop It, if you've ever played that. So this joystick here can be rotated in 4 directions, or I don't know if rotate is the right word. It can be pushed in 4 directions, and it can be then also rotated on, spun around like 360 degrees. So you have a left spin, a right spin, and 4 directional pushes. Plus it can be pushed inwards, like depressed, and then pulled outwards. So the inward push is what you would generally utilize as like a fire button in most games. And the pull is not used super often, but it can be used as a second button, essentially, if needed. So a pull and a press are registered differently. So all told, this gives you way more control options than you would have in any other second generation console. But it's, by all accounts, again, I don't own one, but by all accounts, it is not the easiest thing to come to grips with, and is not especially easy to use. But as far as your overall control options go, this is dramatically more than what you would see in any other system. Also, this means that when we get to looking at the games, keep in mind that I don't own one of these controllers. And so what I've done is the 4 directions are set to either the D-pad or left analog stick. The turning is set to the right analog stick to make it more like a dual joystick shooter type setup. And then obviously the push and pull are each set to a face button. So, and I have push to A, pull to Y, then B and X also serve as the rotation. I can either use the right analog stick or the buttons, assuming my settings held. So that's how I have this mapped to a modern Xbox controller, is what I'm using here. But just note that that is not the default way you would play these games. That's pretty much it. I just want to quickly show you here. This is the System 2, so a slightly revised version of the system. As you can see, they've moved the controller holders to the back in this, like this section here actually lifts up and you put the controllers inside of it. And in this one, as you can see, they've got rid of that internal holder and you put the controllers here on the back of the system, and they've moved the power button here and removed the yellow marker on the actual button. But beyond that, it's more or less the same. But this is another version of the system released slightly later. And you can see this one says Channel F right on it, whereas this one, of course, does not. So here's what you would get with it actually showing and being called the Channel F. All right, now let's take a look at the games. This is the BIOS. We can, in fact, run the integrated games from the BIOS, but someone has helpfully just removed them and separated them out as their own game. So we won't have to use the BIOSes here, but if we wanted to, we could just emulate this and it would just turn the system on without anything in it. And from that, we could get to hockey and tennis here. Outside of this one, this box art is very famous, just due to being one of the first examples of a company coming up with a singular artistic theme for their game and sticking with it. So every single one of these is numbered. You'll see Video Cart 1 and then the name of the game afterwards. And each one of them will show the number here in the corner, as well as some images representing the different games that are present. And they're all done in the same art style by the same artist. And so it's a really, I think, compelling visual styling. And we'll see several examples of this over the course of this series. But here from the beginning, I think it's really, really nice. And this goes all the way through here, 17, and here, starting with 18, you can see the artist quit. And so we now have a different visual theme. This one, I don't speak German. This is chess in German. Was released by the German distributor Saba. And so it obviously has a different visual styling than all of the rest. To my knowledge, to the best of my ability, I could not find any other exclusive game that Saba released. It seemed all the others were just the American ones, but they didn't necessarily have the same combination of games, because many of these are multiple titles in one. And so some of the multi-carts were not necessarily the same combination of games, but the overall games at the end were the same games, just in a different combination. And you also would see them released in different orders. So, you know, just because this was number 17 in the US doesn't mean it was number 17 in Germany. So if you are in Europe and you're watching this and you're like, I remember these games being numbered differently, you are not wrong. That is not necessarily the case where the European and American numbering is the same. I don't know if this was released like in the UK or France or anything officially, but I'm sure you could import it from Germany if you wanted. So my guess is that would have been the more likely scenario of seeing these. You would have seen these Saba cartridges, not the actual Fairchild cartridges, because Fairchild, to my knowledge, didn't have any representation in Europe. The final four actually of cartridges here, as you can see, have a different look of sorts. Again, Fairchild eventually sold the business of their game console business after it was failing to a different company who released these final four games. So these are released by a different distributor. So that is why they have a slightly different look to their art, especially these last two, I think, are quite different. These two, maybe they had done some of the art before they sold it, but obviously these two are very, very different looking than these two. And this was the final game released all the way in 1981. And I haven't mentioned yet, this was first released in 1976. 1976 is when these integrated games are from. So exceptionally early. That predates, again, the Atari 2600 by a year. It predates the RCA Studio 2 by like 8-ish months or so. So again, very first console. And unfortunately, over the course of, 5 years, they only managed to put out 26 games. So not the most impressive library. Anyway, let's get started with the first game. So again, these games were integrated into the system itself. And so when the system came on, it would look like this. Let me make sure you guys are seeing this clearly. Let's see. Let's see if we can make this a bit larger, like so. Does that make this better? A little bit. Okay. All right. So when the system comes on, that you get the G question mark that's asking for game. So it's wanting us to press one of those four buttons. I have this set, I believe, to hit start here, and that brings up the buttons. So if I just hit 4 here, this will start game 4 or game 3. But since there's no cartridge in here, that does nothing. So in this case, we're choosing either hockey or tennis. We'll start actually with tennis because it is Pong. So S means, do you want to start? So I can press 4 to start the game. I can press 1 to select the time, 2 to select the mode, and 3 does nothing in this case, but we're just going to start. And I'm playing as the red thing, and this is, Pong. It's only a 2-player game. There's no AI, so maybe there is. We'll try. We'll switch modes. Let's see. If we hold, then you can see if we go to mode, we can select, let's try mode 2 and start. Does not look like that has added AI. Okay, hold. Mode. Let's try mode 3. Start. Doesn't seem like there's AI in this one. Oh well. Well, only so much we can do then. But the key thing that makes this one unique, let's see if this actually saved. Nope, it didn't, but we can press the... Do I not have anything set to actually do this? Hold on. Hold. Did it not save my control options? B and X should work. But you'll see Y is pull. But let me go to right thumbstick. X, Y is rotate left. X plus is rotate right. There we go. And start. Whoops, that didn't work. Okay. I must be in a mode where I cannot do that. Hold on. Hold, switch mode, back to mode 1. Start. That has made it much slower. Interesting. Okay. Hold. Hold. Mode 2. Start. Oh, you can move the paddle forward and backwards here, which is not the case in all Pong games. And I don't know why I cannot rotate in this. Maybe that's only in the hockey one. So, if we want to get back to game selection, we reset. We choose hockey instead. And we start. Yes, okay. So as you can see with hockey, one of the key differences using that rotating controller, I can now rotate which direction I'm hitting the ball. So I think this is why I think this is game 1 here, because this is really giving you the key selling point of this system. In 1976, your only option was a Pong machine. And so before they could sell you anything else, they had to sell you on their version of Pong. And no version of Pong could do what I'm doing right now. And so that was the selling point here. Yeah. And again, you can bring your goalie out. You can actually move your... I guess maybe you're not supposed to be the goalie. Maybe you are meant to be on the field and he's your goalie. But anyway, by pulling and pushing the button. So what I'm using A and Y here, I can move my goalie up and down as well to try to block the shot like that. So, like I said, a really neat version of Pong for 1976. This would have been really, really cool, and definitely something that would have sold people on the system. So that's your built-in games. And again, a strong start for 1976 that hockey game would have been very impressive, and the tennis game was, you know, a perfectly serviceable game of Pong. But considering in 1976 you could have gotten a Pong console for half the cost of this thing, really the selling point was then you could add in additional games. Unfortunately, this is where things start to fall apart. And we will start with Video Cart 1, of course, which is tic-tac-toe, shooting gallery, and doodling, which is not a game. I know. How dare I? All right. We're going to go, actually, as soon as this pops up, in reverse order, because these become less and less of a game as you go. So this one is not interactive whatsoever. It just draws a picture for you. This is occurring in real time. Like, this isn't a pre-rendered thing. The CPU is actually calculating this and doing it. But it's a tech demo is what you're looking at here. So this claims it's 4 games in one, but what you're looking at right here is one of the games. And again, I have no control over this. None of the buttons here do anything but starting it over. So, hold on, go to hold, and we can die. Hold. You know what? Reset. How about that? All right. Game 3 here. I move my dot around. Then let's see. What is the button to actually make it draw? Do I pull to make it draw? No, that changes the size. That changes the color. Ah, there we go. We've managed to make it start drawing. And that's it. You've now seen everything that this thing can do. Voila. You know, it's like an exceptionally simple version of even like a basic Microsoft Paint program, like even more simple than, say, Mario Paint, or any number of drawing programs you could have gotten on a computer that had an actual mouse and keyboard. So, yeah. Well, you probably would not have had a mouse in 1976, but this is not the way. This is not the thing. But there you go. That's, those are 2 of the 4 games. I believe these were sold for $20, which in 1976 is, you know, probably fairly equivalent to what a game costs today, like $60, $70. So this was not cheap necessarily. All right. Let us start. Okay, so in this, we can't move. We just need to time our shot so that our shot hits the dude, and the more shots we take, the lower our score will be. So, you know. Clearly I suck at it. But, you know, it's not, you know, again, a bad thing. You know, if the only other option you had was Pong, this is not the worst thing in the world, right? But still very, very simple, and you'll be done with it in minutes. There's no competitive mode here. You know, you can try to get a better score, but there's not a ton of scoring potential here. Like, if once you have gotten the timing down for each one of these, you can hit a maximum score, and then you won't ever need to play again. So, very disappointing. And while this predates like Space Invaders, this does not predate like Space Wars or Tank or anything like that. So there were competitive shooting games for 2 players that existed when this came out. This would have been seen as fairly simplistic even for 1976. Man, get in. That's a really rough timing. Nope. It's close. I mean, hey, at least it's a bit challenging, right? Though, mind you, I'm sure I could do a lot better if I just put some memorization to it. Okay, and our final game is tic-tac-toe. How do I make the X appear? Great. Which, you know, this is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with. It, but that's it. It's tic-tac-toe. You know, I can play it again. Yeah, I believe if I select mode 2, then it will even give me an actual human opponent I can play with. So, you know, yay for me there. I beat him. I was able to beat a 1976 computer at tic-tac-toe. The cool thing that people would have thought here is, oh, there's a computer fighting against me, because that was not common in games at this point to have AI. And this AI, as you can tell, you know, we can look at this one more time. Well, it's not very good at tic-tac-toe. It is, in fact, quick at tic-tac-toe. But you see, it's very bad. It's very bad at tic-tac-toe. But I just used the same strategy in a different position and it worked again. So clearly not able to play tic-tac-toe very well. But the fact that it could do it at all would have been seen as quite impressive. But again, all this feels like a novelty. It seems like something you would look at once or twice and just be like, okay, I'm good. There's no reason I would play tic-tac-toe against this computer over a human being unless I had no human being to play with. So very, very limited in its capabilities. Next up, Video Kart 2. This one has Desert Fox and Shooting Gallery. Unfortunately, Shooting Gallery is the same shooting gallery that was in this one, so it only, in fact, contains one unique game, and that is Desert Fox, which is their take on Tank, probably more famously known by its home console name, Combat. This was, of course, designed by Atari initially, Cree Games, which is a so here again, I can use the knob to turn my tank. And then I believe, yes, it's a press in to fire. I don't believe pull does anything in this case, but, you know, combat. Right? There's things to block you. And the fact that you have this knob to turn your tank makes this, in my mind, a significantly better version of tank than what you got on the 2600. Like, frankly, this is one of the best versions of this game I could imagine on this generation. We're going to see a hell of a lot of versions of this game on this generation, but this is up there as among the best exclusively because I actually can shoot and move in two different directions, which is not possible. I can't think of any other system of this generation that would have let me do this. So this is really cool. Obviously there is very little to show when it is just me because there is no AI in this one. Let's actually, well, I say that, let's see if there is a mode 2 and if that mode 2 gives me an AI to play with. Does not look like it. Okay. Well, that's about all I can show of that then. But it is very neat that you're able to essentially, again, aim and move in different directions. That's entirely unheard of for this time outside of an arcade. So very effective. And frankly, this should have, like, Atari used combat as its pack-in. This should have been the pack-in. This should have been included with every system. I think it would have made this a significantly better seller because it very effectively shows the value of their controller over the competition. Okay, we're gonna very, very quickly start video blackjack because, hey, it's video blackjack. I think you get it before I even say anything. And honestly, I'm not even sure how to get all of these different things to work. Like, I don't even know what this screen is even showing me, frankly. Cut. One of these buttons will cut. Bet. Yep, no idea. Reset. So I'm increasing my bet here. How do I... No idea even how to make this one work, honestly. I tried for quite a while yesterday, could not figure out what combination of things would actually make cards appear on this screen. But, there are infinitely better ways to play video blackjack than what we are looking at right here. So just don't play this. But yeah, you could pay $20 for that awful game of blackjack. It's not even 2 games on that one. It's just blackjack. I might have had it in 2-player mode. That could explain why it didn't start. Regardless, we don't need to go back. It's fine. All right, next up we have Spitfire. Hold on. Mr. Smokey, you don't need to meow like that. It's okay. He's still very angry at me. All right. Spitfire. This is very similar to something like Tank or Space War, but with planes. There's just a tower in the middle of this one. So this one, though, notably does have AI. So I wonder if we need to choose mode 2 to get AI, or game 2, that is. Looks like that dude is moving, so yes, we have AI. So again, big selling point here, AI. Or, again, not good AI. Well, damn it. And these controls, to me, make no sense, and I really don't understand what it's wanting me to do here. God damn it. I never claimed I was good at Spitfire. And clearly the AI is very good. But hey, again, having AI in one of these, we'll see in a... I was so close to actually hitting him there. I fired. You saw me fire. Ha! I got him. Unfair. I fired. Didn't work. The lack of responsiveness to my inputs is slightly infuriating. Like, this controls very poorly. And I can't say that anything else has felt delayed, so I'm fairly certain it is not the emulation causing that. But this one just seems very unresponsive. Maybe the AI is using so much of the CPU's processing power that it cannot even respond to my inputs. 1976, folks. Yeah, I actually got him that time. I think you get the idea. That's Spitfire. But again, have an AI. Like, I know I keep harping on this, but it is such a big deal because nothing before this, and frankly, not much anywhere close to this, would have had AI for a lot of these things. There was no AI in combat and no AI in air sea battle outside of just, like you had targets that moved along the line, but nothing that actually responded to your behavior. So next we have Space War. Again, this is actually not like, so this one's 1977. It is not actually identical to Space War because that would have been more or less the same as the last two games. So they have developed a there are no mode. Okay, I guess mode 1 it is for this one, which means that there's probably no AI here. So in this one, you're this little robot dude, and you're trying to shoot this robot dude. And then when you run out of energy, you stand on the base, which gives you more energy. And then you restart, and then you do it again. And repeat. That's Space War. Again, nothing like the actual arcade game Space War, but whatever. It's still at the end of the day, it's still a variation on the same theme we've now seen for 3 games in a row of, two opposing enemies start on opposite corners of the screen and then they shoot each other till one wins. This one, you were driving and had the turret turning, which made it again far and away the most interesting one. This one was probably the most basic, but that allowed it to have AI. This one had the additional element of recharging, but these are 3 very, very, very similar games. And considering our sprites just look like squares and circles and diamonds, who actually cares what the setting is meant to be? Like, the fact that that this is a tank, sure, this one has a very slight effect in being able to turn the turret, but if this was the spaceship and this was the plane, yeah, who would have known the difference? All right. I don't know if I don't think I'm gonna even boot these two up. These two are just math quiz games, so it is just math equations. You can see a picture right here. It's a math equation. You put in the answer to the math equation. In this one, it has multiplication and division. This one, addition and subtraction. That's it. That's the entire game. There's no other like game around it. It's just math problems. So I don't think we need to take the time to boot that up and see that. Magic numbers, we barely need to take the time to boot up and see, but we'll do it. So this is, I'm trying to remember the name of this game. How do I adjust what I want here? What do they generally call this when you play this with another person? Basically, right, I'm just guessing what the numbers are that you're thinking of, except this time the computer's thinking of the number. And so it's telling me that, so the T there, I guess for true, is telling me that the first number is correct, which means that I can keep that, I can adjust that, I can adjust that, and press again. Okay, so second number is not a 9 or a 2. Could be a 3. Did we do a 3 yet? I don't think so. Well, let's do 4 just in case. This one could be a 1. Sure. Okay. A 5 and a 2. Right? It's the mark of the beast. Wait, none of the numbers are right? How is that possible? Is the same... What? Do I not understand the rules of this game like I thought I did? Is that telling me that 5 is right now? And 7's right? I see. It was just telling me that I had the right position, or the right number, not necessarily the right position. Good to know. Okay. Well, I'm glad we've learned that, but I don't think we need to play again. Okay, this second game, I actually read a review from the time this was released where they couldn't score it because they literally could not figure out how to play it. They were like, after spending an hour trying, we still could not figure out how to play it, so they contacted Fairchild, and even Fairchild could not explain how this game was played. But the game, you're basically, think of these as glasses filled with marbles, and the goal is to not be the person to take out the last marble. Okay? So you want to make it so that, I don't know, you want there to be an even or odd number. I'm terrible at this type of thing. But like I can take this out, hit A, and then the computer will take out one of theirs, and then I assume that makes it my turn now. And I can take out, let's say, all of these. And if I take out this, and he takes out that, oh, I went the wrong direction. Maybe I want to be the last person to take it out. Okay, my mistake. Regardless, you get the concept. We don't need to do it again. You remove the marbles from the jar. Person who takes out the last marble wins, it seems. Whatever. So, we're well into 1977 here. 8 games in, plus the pack-in, so 9 releases here. And you have Desert Fox, which again, very impressive. You have the built-in hockey, very impressive. Everything else, very not impressive. And now that you have competition in the form of the Studio 2 and the Atari 2600, it's going to be getting rough. Next up, we have Drag Strip. This is a variation of Dragster for arcades. And what did Atari call this on the 2600? This is another, all of these are just ripoffs of Atari games. I don't know that there's an original game on here. But so yeah, there's a 2600 version of this where you drag race. I don't remember its name. We need a mode here. That's interesting. The first one that's actually, how do I start? I'm gonna assume I'm the blue one. There was sound for a moment and then there wasn't. Let's try pressing 1 for everything and see if that gets us in a better situation. What is the go button? Like, is it a mash, maybe? Wait. That did something. Am I winning? I don't know how you make a game that is even dumber than the Atari version, but there you go. That beginning sound was the countdown. I determined it was counting down and then green and then go. And then I'm pretty sure that was meant to indicate me switching gears, I guess, but God if I know. Wow. Okay. This one is a maze game. And unlike later maze games like, say, Pac-Man, there's nothing to this one. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. My apologies. Let's try this again. Let's try one of the other modes. In that mode, you can't actually see where the maze is until after you walk through it, so it sucks. In this mode, even when you walk through it, you can't see it, so, wow. So, this is great. Amazing. Once again, it's like the past two, where you're drawing the maze out. Here, it's just the white part is... It's like the opposite. I feel pretty happy about this, though, because, well, shit. I was gonna say, I think I might have gotten him, but I didn't. Alright, that's Maze. 1977, so, you know, we're 3 years before Pac-Man here, but still, that's rough. That is rough. The main, like, noteworthy thing there again would be that you have that AI chasing you, but that AI chasing you is very unfair, and it would have been more enjoyable if they had just made the other player actually have AI and try to get through the maze too, so that you actually had a competition instead of you both trying to avoid an AI opponent, but that's not what they did. So, a poorly done game, let's call it. It had the basics there, just didn't quite nail it. This is another one. We're not even going to bother launching this. It's just Backgammon and AC Doocy, which are variations of the same game. You are better off just playing Backgammon or AC Doocy using actual physical components. Baseball. This is a first for this channel. Never before have I played a sports game on this channel, but we're going to do it right here and now. It's going to be the first time ever. This one doesn't even say anything. Well, all that in the emulator is broken, I guess. Is there another version of this I have? I do. I'm going to try the other version of this I have and see if it makes any difference. But it doesn't look like it. This might require a second player in it to even actually start. Because, yeah, nothing here does anything. All right, well, we were going to play baseball, but I don't have 2 players, and this one looks like it will not even run without 2 players, so I guess I'm safe from playing baseball. This is great. All right, next up we have Robot War and Torpedo Alley. This is another 2-cart joint. We're going to start, I assume the first one is going to be Robot War. And, whoops, that's, how do I? Okay, did it. So in this one, you don't shoot. You're just trying to get the robots to crash into these squares because they're stupid, and then they crash into the square and you win. And I believe there's a 2-player mode potentially. I don't remember what it does. Well, that's not good. So one of the issues with the Fairchild is that most of these objects, you'll note that they are very similar across the different games, and that is because the system had pre-built drawings of things like squares and crosses, and you could use as many of those as you wanted per game, not on screen at one time, but within the totality of your game, as long as it fit within the cart. But you could not create your own sprites outside of the player sprite and I believe the enemy sprite. And so you only had 2 sprites to work with that you could define yourself, draw yourself, and place on here, which is why you're seeing so many of these games using the same batch of sprites, because that was the only option, really. What? I lost that one, definitely. All right, let's reset this and look at the other game. I will say I don't know that there actually is any other game I can think of, off the top of my head at least, that is quite like that. So that might actually be its own game. So this is, gosh. I always forget, is it Seawolf or is it... There's 2 different games. One where you're the submarine shooting up and one where you're the boat dropping down. I don't remember which one's which, but this is an arcade game that this is based on. I don't remember if it's Seawolf or I don't even remember the name of the other one. On 2600, it's part of Air Sea Battle. But this is very, very similar to Shooting Gallery, right? In that you're just timing your shots. You're not really moving very much. You can go backwards and forward, left and right, I guess, in this one. And I wonder if you can, yeah, okay, you can. I bet there are modes where you can't, but if you want, you could shoot your shots diagonally. In this case, though, since your opponents are moving at a set speed and a set direction, I don't see why you would. Feel like you'd be better off just sticking with one direction and timing your shots correctly. But what do I know? And of course, there is 2 players. So if I wanted to, someone else could join me and attempt to take out these boats before me, and we could have set a time limit and all that. So I will say this probably is more enjoyable than Robot Wars, but is once more just a copy of a game that already exists in arcades and on the 2600 and is significantly, you know, honestly, it's probably not dramatically better in arcades. It's more or less the same damn thing, but on the 2600 there's like 50 variations in air sea battle. Plus, as you might get from the concept of air sea battle, it also has Canyon Bomber and what's the last game mode? There's 3 or 4 different game modes that all are very different. So there's a lot, and each one of those game modes has like 20 different variations. So this has very, very few. Like, it might have multiple variations. Let's see if this will. We select mode 2. Does this behave significantly different? I think it's just slower speed slightly. It's actually interesting if you, so there was like a demo disc that I guess they must have had like kiosks that has been dumped and you can try. And despite the fact that the button says mode right on it on the actual system, as you saw in the picture, in the demo kiosk part, when it's explaining the capabilities of the system, it describes the M button not as mode, but as a button to adjust the speed of the game. I don't remember exactly what term they use. But it was very much designed to be make the game slower or faster. And I think they might have done more with it than that later, but yeah. All right. This is Battleship. I guess I hit him then? I don't actually know how this game determines the fact that there's no grid either. Like, do I need to hit this multiple times? Like, is there potentially multiple parts of this ship? Yes, there is. I sunk your battleship. This is not, you know, it's not fun when you're not playing it with a person and yelling out and being sad and happy, you know. Also, without a grid to denote where you have tried and where you haven't. Yeah, this is nowhere near as good as just playing Battleship. Look, I found another ship. I sunk your battleship. We're not going to go through another 30 more presses of this, but it's Battleship. You get the idea. Sorry, it's sonar search. Is not good. This is memory. I don't even think we need to boot this up. It's memory. You know memory, right? I choose a card, I try to find the matching card. If I don't find the matching card, then the card flips back over, and I try to find the cards in the least amount of turns, or if I have an opponent, I try to find more matches than they do. Dodge it. This one, at least, is an actual real video game. So this is Dodge It, where I control this block here, and I'm just trying to dodge the other blocks for as long as possible. As you can see, as I dodge them, my score goes up, and eventually you'll see, yes, more of these balls will enter the court, and it will become harder and harder to dodge them. And for I feel like I got hit there. How did that not count? How do I lose? Okay. I'm now slightly confused. Like, I feel like I'm getting hit by these. Why are they... Why... What? Like, am I getting points more quickly if I... My ability to understand this game just dramatically decreased. I thought I understood it until these balls now just keep hitting me and nothing is happening. Does this one ask me for a game mode? Yes. Let's try mode 2. I mean, in mode 2, there is another player there. Well, that time I lost. Okay, so in mode 2, I'm trying to get it to not hit the green one. So it's okay if it hits me. If it hits the green one, though, I lose. Well, at least this mode works. I don't know what the rules of the other mode were then. Yeah, okay. Cool. Let's see what game 3 is like. Like, if this... really have no idea in these ones without the green block. I don't know what the win or loss condition is. None of the buttons do anything. So I'm really not sure what is supposed to happen here. Like, I thought you were just supposed to dodge them, but I'm hitting right, like they're going right through me. Strange. Okay. I'm not sure I fully understand the rules of all the different modes of Dodge It, but it's meant to be like a dodgeball type thing. Like, if you look at the pictures, right, you can see them dodging a ball. So I don't get why. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure on that one, but at least some of the modes I figured out. And I think that's a decently fun little game. Again, it's so simple. And obviously, Atari 2600 games, especially the early ones, are exceptionally simple as well. There's just not a ton of replayability to most of these. This one maybe a bit more than most, but compared to something like Combat or with Air Sea Battle with its dozens of variations, there's just not a ton of options here. The most variations you're getting is 4. So if you had 4 games and 4 variations of each game, 16 is the most possible variations you could have within a single cartridge. And there are Atari cartridges with several hundred variations. And so, while the games were very, very simple, all the variations allowed this to really have a level of longevity that you're really not seeing here. This game's called Pinball, but it is actually not Pinball. It is Breakout. Hey, the game started. I don't know how. No idea what I was doing wrong there, but we got a game started, so we're just gonna go with it and move on. Can I... These games did have nice color manuals that would have explained how to start the game and what it was asking me to do there. So part of that is not having those manuals. It is not at all clear in a lot of these games what it is you're meant to be doing. I'm so unclear what is causing the game to start. But if I mash enough buttons, eventually I get breakout to occur. So, it's a really bad version of Breakout where you don't have individual blocks and there's only 3 lines and it sucks. But there you go, it is Breakout. 1978 now. We have moved on to 78 with, I believe, Dodge It was the first? No, Memory Match, which we didn't even look at. So we're in 78 now. So we've also got the Bally Astrocade to contend with. Couple other more obscure entrants as well would have appeared at this point, so you have quite a few competitors here, probably 6 or 7 on the field as far as second generation game consoles go by 1978. And look, it's better than the RCA Studio 2, but beyond that, pretty much all of them would have eclipsed what we are seeing here, with the exception again of the inability to rotate in any of the other platforms. This is Hangman. You don't need to see me play Hangman against a computer. Checkers and chess, again, not really something you need to see me play. It's they're checkers and chess. This one isn't even in English, so, not really worth seeing. Video Whiz Ball, though, is its own thing, so we will take a look at that. How do I... Oh, wow. I respawned just in time to be murdered. So the goal here is to get the ball into the opponent's goal here. And you do that by shooting the balls towards them. And if you hit them, they disappear temporarily. So it doesn't get you a point, but then they can't be shooting the ball at you, and so this one's actually decently fun. I don't know why this one was not included or was replaced by chess in Germany, because I think this is one of the more enjoyable games on the system. I think it has a lot of those replayability elements that we've been discussing that are not present in any of the others. It has AI, again, very noteworthy. I mean, we're now in 1978, so it's not quite as impressive as it was 2 years prior, but still the majority of Atari games hitting in 1978, the majority of games on the Astrocade, none of the games on the Studio 2 had AI opponents, to my knowledge. So this is a pretty impressive. Well, damn it. Oh yeah, you can also rotate left and right to shoot at angles if you want in this, which is like you can with the standard Pong. And as you can see, you can break your opponent's goal like that in a way that is pretty neat. But yeah, this is a neat one. Not too much else to show there, but destructible field, lots of different balls to push in, AI, two-player mode, very much the highlighted of the system's library in my mind. I don't think there's really anything better than Video Whiz Ball. Bowling is bowling. We'll take a quick look at it. Will we be able to play this sports game? Will this be our first sports game ever played on the channel? How do we play? So the ball rotates along, you press forward, and then you press left or right to give it some, you know, English or what have you. Yeah, it's an exceptionally simple version of bowling here. No element of strength that I see here. Anyways, it's bowling. It's a very, very, very simple game of bowling. A slot machine is a slot machine. That's literally all there is to it. You just press a button and a slot machine goes. The same thing exists on the 2600. Don't buy a video game that is nothing but a slot machine. This is not worth your hard-earned money, guys. It wasn't worth your hard-earned money in 1978, 79, or 1980, as we have made it in this one. All the way in 1980, and they're giving us a slot machine. Video Kart 23. Galactic Space Wars. You might think that this is going to be a Space Invaders clone, but it is not. That is Alien Invasion. This one is actually a first-person shooting game, of which there were also quite a few in this time. Let's see what we think of this one. Let's see, how do we start? Okay, we have started. And we can shoot. And does this do anything? No. Eventually, you know, yeah, and a ship comes and we shoot it. Except the controls are all inverted because theoretically we're in space. So I hate it. But that's just me. I just don't like inverted controls like this. But that's whoops. Nope. Nope. Where is he? There he is. Victory. Wait. Nope. Where? What is it? What the hell is happening? Where is this thing going? There he is. Yeah, so the number on the bottom left in red is the distance to your target, and it decreases. You can see as I get closer to my target, it's like, nah, you need to go this way or that way. Then I believe the green number is my timer, and that also decreases, I believe, as I get hit. Potentially. And the red is my hits, and the blue is the enemy hits. I assume when the timer runs out, whoever has hit the other the most will win. I don't believe there's a two-player version of this. I've gotten a whole bunch of achievements for achieving that. Oh. And then it starts over, and that's it. It's a neat look. A lot of, like I said, a lot of games had that style of gameplay in this era. It was a good way to mimic space, and we're right at Star Wars points here, right? This is 1980, so Star Wars would have just come out, and so flying in space in a ship and shooting things was exceptionally popular. So, like I said, we had a ton of games like this at this time. Pro football, is yeah, I think is only as multiplayer again, so I don't think we're going to be able to play this. Poker is at least a much better version of cards than blackjack, but it's still just poker. So I think the only game we really still need to look at is the final game released in 1981. It is Alien Invasion, and it is, in fact, Space Invaders. How do I move my why does my ship not move here? I must be selecting modes here, is all I can think of. That's what I thought. I had to switch which controller I was playing. I forgot which button it was that did that. It's like, I bet it thinks I'm player 2 for some reason. Why is player 2 go first and is the only player in a single player? I don't know. But that had to have been the answer. I just didn't remember which button I had set to swap which controller this was. As you can see, it's Space Invaders. I'm not 100% sure how they're doing this, but I think they are swapping some of those pre-built shapes in and out of view as they scroll across the line to make it seem like they are made up of different shapes than they actually are, because they can't put this many sprites on screen. They move much more slowly than in actual Space Invaders, making this a very easy game of Space Invaders. And once again, the Atari version has significantly more options and modes than what we're seeing here. And the arcade version... So the original arcade version wasn't in color, so I can't actually even say that it necessarily looked better than this. But by 1981, when this came out, there was in fact a color version that exists. Whoops. I don't remember which button I have set for that, unfortunately. But I do have some buttons set to swap those out. I just don't remember which one. Maybe it's the select button. That would make sense. Try that if I think that one indicated I had one more life left, so we'll see if that that will swap the controller. I do appreciate that it has this built-in competitive mode, mind you. I think without this, it would have felt very bare bones. But the fact that you do have some variations here is nice. And in some ways, this looks cleaner than Atari's version. But I don't know. I think I like Atari's look better. And I don't think either of them... I don't love the look of the aliens in either of them. Some people really like the look of the aliens in the 2600 version of Space Invaders, but I'm not personally the hugest fan. You don't come... Now my other cat's here complaining that I'm not paying attention to her. She tried attacking my old cat because he wasn't playing with her. I'm like, dude, just leave him alone. He can barely move. He doesn't want to play with you. And then she's upset because no one's playing with her, you know, so it is what it is. This is way too easy of a version of Space Invaders, frankly. And also, 1981, you could be playing Galaxian. You could be playing home versions of Galaxian on, say, the Intellivision or the Arcadia or the Bandai. Gosh, I don't remember which Bandai system it was at the time, but the Bandai one. It is the select button. That makes a lot of sense now that I say it out loud, but I just didn't think of it before. There you go. Blue player, 10 points. Good work. That's Alien Invasion. It was far too little, far too late to actually save the Channel F after it was sold to Zircon. And nor were any of these other 1981 and 1980 titles from Zircon. So, Slot Machines was also Zircon, I guess? Was Bowling? No. So yeah, these final 5 titles, not really great. Alien Invasion is okay. The fact they got something resembling Space Invaders working on this platform is impressive. And Galactic Space Wars also good use of the system's capabilities to deliver something that just unfortunately was very derivative of what existed and in better form on other consoles. Neither of these games are using any of the unique features of the platform, and that just makes them not especially compelling when you could purchase systems that had far larger libraries and far greater audio visual capabilities for the same amount of money. So, Fairchild Channel F, not the highlight of the first release of the second generation, but not the worst system of the generation either, because next time we will be looking at none other than the RCA Studio 2, which has a library half as large and twice as bad. So stay with us for our next episode. Don't know exactly when I'll be airing that. And if you are watching the archive on YouTube, thank you for taking the time to view this. More episodes will be uploaded as I have them archived. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and to look me up on Twitch, Souls Grimwelder, just like on YouTube, if you want to see the latest episodes live as they air, as well as other history ofs and various other series like the Boomer Shooter Showdown and the 6th Gen Slasher Showdown, all air live on Twitch before being archived on YouTube. And if you are watching live on Twitch here, then feel free to check episodes you missed on YouTube. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will be back in just a couple of minutes with some more TurboGrafx games, but this is the end of the Fairchild Channel F and the conclusion of the first episode of our look into the over a dozen platforms that made up the second generation of video game consoles. Good night, everyone, and goodbye.